Howdy, Ags. AP, Corey, here from the tailgate. Talking Aggie football every day. Today's episode brought to you by a very familiar sponsor, Frida Custom Homes. Always building Aggie dreams. Don't forget, folks, email us at Ags Tailgate at gmail.com or leave us a comment or a question on YouTube or Insta, whatever, Facebook. Corey, you want them to send you mail to your address?
No.
Like your home address, snail mail?
Nah, don't need any of that. Just send them all to Alejo. We're good that way.
All right, so today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit of SEC spring game recaps, specifically teams that the Aggies will face in 2022. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but let's start off with some news and notes. The news and the notes. All right, so first things first, Corey.
Yeah.
SEC champs, baby. Ho, ho, ho. Regular season and SEC tournament champions. Women's tennis, baby. Women's tennis. Look, unbeaten for 21 straight matches. 30-1 overall. Beat Vandy, Florida, and Georgia on the way to the SEC tournament championships. All three of those teams have won Natty since the Aggies have joined the SEC. And now, ranked number one in the nation, baby, going into the NCAA tournament. Number one in the nation. What do you think, Corey?
I'll probably watch it just as much as I have all year. No offense to them. I'm proud of them, but I'm not a big tennis guy.
I'm gonna catch that tennis tournament, the championship there.
Is it televised?
Yeah, of course. Everything's televised. If you find it. I don't know yet.
Find it. Like that.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Other big news. Baseball, baby. Baseball takes 2 for 3 from Arkansas, man. Arkansas number 3 in the country before the game started. They open up Friday night with a 2-1 win where the starter goes 5 innings, gives up a run. And then they get a closer. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second. But they end up winning 2-1. So, as you can tell, the bullpen didn't give anything up. On Saturday, they lose 1-3. Not a bad game, obviously against one of the top teams in the country. Jack Moss continues to really do well. He goes 3 for 4 in that one. But then in the rubber match on Sunday, the Aggies jump out to a big lead and then almost give it up. 11-10. 11-10. And so several guys in the lineup have big days. Dylan Rock goes 2 for 2 with a home run, 3 walks. Jack Moss was 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Minich was 3 for 4. Bose 3 for 4 with a home run. I mean, the lineup obviously went off. They scored 11 runs. All that said, let me get back to the relievers. My boy, Palish, comes in the 8th inning of that 11-10 game. They were ahead 3 runs. So 11-8. Aggies lead. Bases are loaded. No outs. Mind you, this guy is the guy that closed out the game on Friday night. He didn't just close it out. After the starter went 5, he went 4 innings for a 4-inning save and didn't give up a run in a 2-1 game. 4 innings. He wasn't supposed to be available on Sunday. And he's sitting there in the 8th inning and he tells Coach, he said, "Coach, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. We're about to blow this thing. I'm ready to go." Bases loaded, up 3 runs, No outs. He comes in. He gives up a hit, allows 2 runs. Not on him, right? Strikes out the side. Strikes out the side. Then comes back in the 9th to close it out. 3 up, 3 down. Preserve the 11-10 victory for the Aggies. Named SEC Pitcher of the Week, or actually the College Baseball Pitcher of the Week for his efforts. How about that?
Impressive. About time we have one of those.
Pretty damn impressive. You know, if he doesn't have to pitch 4 innings on the opening night of the weekend, you know, maybe you get a couple innings here and a couple innings there. But man, what a performance, man, and gutsy. You know, look, they've got Vandy, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss left on the schedule. Vandy's ranked again, by the way. They're now Aggies are ranked now, so that'll be a matchup between ranked teams. And the Mississippi schools obviously have talent. They haven't had the year that they've expected, but they've got talent. So things are not finished for this baseball team, but they can definitely play themselves into hosting a regional if they have a good, strong finish, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I expect them to have a strong finish. I mean, they've only gotten better as the season went on. It's a shame they didn't get to play Sam Houston last week because of the weather, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
I guess you guys had a pretty bad storm over there in Bryan, huh?
Oh, yeah. It was raining for like 2 days.
Some transfer portal news. Not for the football team. The volleyball team adds an all-ACC player through the transfer portal from Notre Dame. So, Caroline Muth, a hitter for the volleyball team. Good. Nice little news and notes there. And then to top this off here, I just want to finish off with the news and notes. A&M Athletics asking for some donations. They want a little do-re-mi. They need $120 million because they are making improvements to the football facilities. Another $120 million. It's called the Centennial Campaign. So monster improvements to the football facilities, and they're building a new indoor track stadium. It's the 100-year anniversary of the 12th man. The facilities are including an academic wellness center, which obviously for the kids help in academics, but also they're going to have a facility for leadership development, sports psychology and nutrition. And then they're going to have the indoor track stadium, as well as the redevelopment of the Bright football complex, the new indoor practice facility, $120 million. The indoor practice facility is going to be a 160-yard football performance center. They're going to have expanded locker rooms in the Bright complex, team meeting rooms, sports medicine rooms, as well as some recruiting areas. You know, those places where you always see the recruits taking these crazy pictures and stuff like that. They're going to have better facilities for that. And then they're going to build the indoor track stadium, the new indoor track stadium. You know why they're going to build the new indoor track stadium?
Why?
Because the current indoor track stadium is going to be torn down so that they can put the new football facilities on there.
Jeez.
So, yeah. So obviously, Jimbo's going to have some more toys to play with, as if he needs them. But you know, he's getting everything he's asked for.
Oh yeah,
that's all I can say.
Aggie said they do that. They've done it.
Yep. All right. So now let's move into football, and we're going to talk our football topic, and we're going to do this in the order that they've actually played the spring games. So the order may not make a lot of sense, but we're just going to go down this list and talk about some of these teams. Let's start with Auburn, who played their spring game on April the 9th. Corey, just your overall thoughts, anything you took away from the spring game. Obviously, we're not going to go real in depth here, but anything you took away from it.
They have some talent returning at Auburn. Their FBI ranking, they're in the top 10, I think, in the FBI, which I found interesting. But the more you read into that team, I mean, they have 4 offensive linemen returning. They have some talent in the backfield. They have
4 offensive linemen returning from an offensive line that was pretty horrendous.
But still, they have 4 returning. Their defense returns some parts. But I don't see the FPI being – I don't understand the whole ranking. The coach almost got fired. I figure I picked Auburn to finish dead last in the West, but
I agree with you.
I could be.
Look,
they don't have a quarterback. Who's their quarterback? If that offensive line's not any good, Calzada can't do anything.
Quarterback's going to be the biggest issue there, and if you watch the spring game, you know that right now TJ Finley and the transfer from Georgia Ashford have been sort of the guys taking the snaps while Calzada has been injured. So Calzada is going to come in and he's going to become a part of that competition. I'll tell you this. After watching that game again and going through that, the more I think that Ashford is going to end up being the starting quarterback for this team. And the reason I say that is the guy is a phenomenal athlete. Like, he's a guy that can make plays with his feet. And he throws the ball just as well as Finley, for example. And so ultimately, I think he's going to give them the ability to do some different things with that offense that the other 2 guys wouldn't provide, right? And because of the fact that I don't think they're loaded I don't think they're very loaded at wide receiver, right? I don't think they're that talented at wide receiver. They're having to basically rebuild the wide receiving room. And from what I could tell, man, they've got a lot of they got a lot of work to do.
That coach was good wherever he's been. I mean, at Boise, he did a good job making something out of nothing. His quarterbacks, he always had a good passing game. Rippon went to the NFL. That's he's doing well. They got different players that they put up good stats. I mean, SEC is a different animal. It's a different monster altogether. But
at Boise, he was playing against teams that were less talented than him, right?
Oh yeah. Right, absolutely. I mean, you didn't have to bring your A game every day.
Yeah.
Not in that conference. I mean, what is that, WAC or something? I'm not even sure what they're in. Mountain West or something.
I think Ashford probably if they had a ton of talent at receiver, man, and they were just loaded at all the skill position play, all the skill positions and everything. If the offensive line was set and really good, I think Calzada may be the better option for that system to be able to distribute the ball.
Oh yeah.
But they don't have those types of weapons around them. Now, the tailback's pretty good, Bigsby, right? He's a really good tailback. But aside from him, you take him out of the pictures, they've got a lot of question marks everywhere else pretty much. I think you're probably better off with a guy like Ashford that can go make plays with his legs, do some different things, and just make the playbook more about that guy than sort of the pieces around him. I think that's their biggest question, though.
It sounds like you're the only person talking about Ashford being the starter. Pretty interesting. Go ahead.
That could be true. Shifting over to the other side defensively, you said it, right? They've got some good solid pieces up front coming back, different things. Not a ton of experience at linebacker, but and some questions in the secondary. I don't think they're going to have any depth. I think they're going to struggle in especially as the games go on, right?
Right.
And for that reason, I sort of agree with you, man. I would expect that they're probably last in the SEC West, if you ask me. And Brian Harsin is likely pieced out by the end of the season. All right. Florida played their spring game April the 14th. What do you think?
That's a guy that, if you give Billy Napier a little bit of time, I think, with this team, I think he's going to do something with it. It's going to take a little while to get his players, his offense, just what he needs. He's a good coach. Florida's going to be patient, something they're not really used to. I mean, how long was Dan Mullen there? Like 3 years or something? It wasn't that long. It went pretty quick. But Florida has talent, but that's another team I see maybe 500 middle of the pack in the SEC East.
I'll tell you this: there were two things that sort of became a little evident to me during that scrimmage, right? One is that Florida no longer has the same talent that they had there before Dan Mullen showed up. Dan Mullen hurt this program and the talent level that they have. You go look at that defense, and you don't see the same level of player that you did a few years ago, especially in the secondary. Those guys, there's a stark difference between Florida 4 years ago and the players that they had on the field in Florida now. And that's on Dan Mullen, I think. And I do agree with you, Napier. We'll have to see how he does at this level of program, but he's already started to try to bring in some talent. This year, he somewhat through the transfer portal, but having said all that, as far as what they can do this year, it's going to be interesting because, like I said, their defense, I don't see it being the dominant force that it has been in the past. However, Richardson, the quarterback, looked really good. I was very impressed with how composed, how decisive, just how well he threw the ball in general. And it wasn't necessarily a bunch of big plays or anything. He was reading the defenses and getting rid of the ball and getting the ball to the players, right? And so this team may be one of those teams that you look at and say that, they may try to outscore you more than anything else, right? But they're also going to be more sound on defense because under Mullen, they were just that bad defensively, weren't they?
Well, yeah, they were. But Napier, he liked to do a lot of trick plays that I saw him doing when he coached at Louisiana. So, he's probably going to have to pull some tricks out.
Hey, that's going to be good because if they got that offense humming underneath and doing the things, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom, trick play over the top, man, that's perfect. That's phenomenal, if you ask me. That offense can be maybe a challenge. And look, we're going to see those guys a little bit later in the year. So you can expect that they'll have some experience in that offense and that defense by that point. That could end up being a pretty good game is sort of where I'm going.
I'll tell you, the SEC East, it's going to be offense, because the only team besides Georgia, I don't see much defense from Tennessee, South Carolina. Who are we talking about? Florida. Kentucky. Those four teams, they have quarterbacks and they're going to move the ball. But
I think ultimately that's why look. I think it'll be a good. I think ultimately that's why I would pick the Aggies to win that game because I think defensively Florida is not going to be able to stand up physically against us on offense, right?
Right.
All right. Next team, Arkansas, played on April the 16th. Man, let me tell you something, dude. Sam Pittman is a phenomenal offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
He is a phenomenal offensive line coach. As I watch this team, and look, those guys, they every year he's been there, they've just been so good up front. And they're going to be good up front again. They're going to be really good up front again. And I'm telling you, they've got to replace Traylon Burks on the outside offensively. But this offense is not going to change identity from what it was last year. It's going to be based off of Jefferson, the running game, the quarterback run game, the tailback run game. They're going to use the tight ends. And one of those receivers is going to step up. As a matter of fact, the backup quarterback Hornsby, who's probably the best athlete on the field, played some at wide receiver.
Really? I didn't see that.
And he could very easily turn into a nice deep threat for them as fast as he is, right?
Arkansas, watch out for him, man. Pittman knows how to build those lines.
Yeah, I think that offense is going to be exactly that, man. And they're going to control games based on the physicality. I mean, they were a one score away from beating Alabama last year. Obviously, they beat us. They get an Oklahoma transfer and wide receiver in Hazelwood as well, who's a guy that everybody has highly rated. So they've got some pieces in there, and the tight end's going to be heavily involved. They've got a big body tight end. I think it's Knox. Man, he looks pretty impressive too physically. So I think this offense is going to control that team. Basically, that team is going to be controlled by that offense, and they're going to protect the defense a lot like what the Aggies did a couple of years ago, in the sense that, we're going to pound the rock. We're going to let our defense get some rest and do some things. And the defense, they looked all right. Lining up in a 3-4. Lots of movement and pressure like they did last year, right? Slanting the defensive line, bringing pressure off of different places. And they're going to need those plays from that movement and those, because talent-wise, otherwise they won't stand up front, right?
And that's the thing. Pittman's an offensive line coach. He knows what offensive lines don't like, and he's at 3-4. That's what he's using. He knows he can counteract it against a good offensive line. Yeah, I think Arkansas can finish about probably them Mississippi State 3rd or 4th right there in the middle of the West, right behind A&M and Alabama.
Look, I'm telling you, you're sort of putting them ahead of, behind A&M and Alabama. I'm not sure that they're not in competition and right in the running with those two teams.
Wait. You're saying they're in competition with Alabama?
Yeah, I'm saying that if I had to say, they'd be in the group with those two teams as my favorites for the SEC West. So
a 3-team race. Is that what you're saying? Mississippi State's out?
I think it's a 3-team race. I think Mississippi State is not going to win it. Gotcha. They may have a good year and all that thing and win a game that they against one of those teams. I don't think they end up winning it because they all, how Leach is, man. He always loses a game he shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
One thing about that defense, though, for Arkansas, Catalon is back, and he's a big-time playmaker at safety, and Bumper Pool is a pretty good ball player at linebacker. So they do got some pieces at a couple of different levels, but defensively, I don't think they're going to match up great against some better talent. So
I understand that.
All right, so Mississippi State, which you just brought up.
Yep.
Now, I think their spring game got rained out, buddy. The spring game got rained out. Leach was having the spring game like in the middle of the spring practice. They got rained out. But just looking at this team in general, I'll say this. It's all about the quarterback, baby.
Always is with Leach. Always.
Well, Rodgers is in his 3rd year too, right? He's in his 3rd year in this offense. Man, they've got a lot of pieces around him returning. They lose their 2 offensive tackles on that offensive line, but Leach never has a problem with the offensive line. In his system, the way they get rid of the ball and the way they do their protections, man, they've always got guys there and they never have a problem. So I don't think that's going to hurt them that much. And what I was impressed with was, and I have been impressed with their defense, is what their defense looks like. Last year, they were pretty darn good, man. They were one of the better defenses in the SEC last year.
They have to be. They have to be a good defense the way their offense gets on and off the field, throws the ball, makes the games really long. It's kind of impressive what he does, a bunch of no-name players. I mean, guys you don't really household names except for the quarterback. And that, they had a left tackle last year that's going to the draft or whatever, but
He'll be a top 15 pick. That their left tackle is going to be a top 15 pick.
Right. And other than that, but I mean, I can't think of a whole lot of Mississippi State players right now that were on the team last year.
I mean, they absolutely distribute the ball all to every offensive player through the air, right? They don't run the ball a ton, but they'll throw it to the backs, they'll throw it to the wide receivers, they'll throw it out to the others, and get everybody involved. They'll all have a ton of catches and a ton of yards. Defensively, man, they've got some players especially in the secondary, some depth up front, with some guys that are some upper class. Dude, I expect the Mississippi State team to be pretty good, but I still think that they lose game. They'll lose a game somewhere where they're not expected to, right?
Oh yeah, I think they'll win a game they're not expected to win either. I think they'll give Alabama a run for their money, or Georgia, or somebody that you're just like, what the hell is going on here? And
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And we're going to talk a little bit Bama, and we're going to wait on them for just a second here. But so let's move on. Let's go to South Carolina. And I've been real high on South Carolina. And obviously what they did last year was impressive, right? And then they bring in Rattler. They bring in the tight end from Oklahoma as well. They just got another big-time tight end that they're going to add to the mix. So they've got some pieces there, especially offensively, to step that game up from last year. But this is what I saw. I think Rattler is a big-time upgrade from one of the guys, the coach that they had out on the field last year and the other guys, right? But, man, that offensive line still looks very, very shaky.
Oh, yeah. But I'll tell you, South Carolina's going to be a lot better than they were last year. The talent is getting up there. We're going to see if Beamer can really coach or if that last year was a fluke. I mean, I don't know how many games they won last year they weren't supposed to win, but they had a decent defense last year. If you look into it, the defense wasn't terrible.
Well, I think I told you, their over-under in win totals last year was 2.5. 2.5, and they made a bowl game, so that tells you something.
They won 5 or 6?
Well, they won 6 in the regular season to make a bowl game. I mean, look, yeah, they completely overperformed 100%, especially with the talent level. Problem is that talent level is a little bit better. It's not a lot better, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to be highly overmatched. They're playing a 4-2-5. And they're going to try to disguise things and move and bring pressures from different places and everything else, and then sit back in a zone behind it, try to keep things in front. But physically, they don't match up.
Can they beat Florida?
Man.
Because, I mean, right now,
could they? Yeah.
They're going to beat Missouri. Then they're probably not going to beat Kentucky, probably not going to beat Tennessee, and probably not going to beat Georgia. So it's 3.
Right. But they could be. I think that'd be a very good game because a turnover probably swings the game, right? One turnover swings the game. And if their movement and different things up front, can cause a turnover, that's a win. So they'll have a chance in that game. On the other side of the ball, they'll have to get a good performance from Rattler, right? Where he avoids the turnover and does those things. And I'll tell you what, he's got a couple of pieces that he can get the balls to. I think their tailbacks are phenomenal. And I wouldn't be surprised if this team, because of the issues, especially in the up front, and the fact that, they're still trying to put everything, they don't end up being sort of a pound the rock, give the ball to those tailbacks with some Rattler magic on play action and different things. So I would think, if it were the way I see it and what I saw from their spring game, I see some of that in their offense this year in order to try to protect that defense we talked about just a minute ago.
I don't think so. I think they're going to go out there and throw it around. They got Spencer Rattler. They're going to try to outscore everybody. I think that's the SEC East this year. I think the East is going to be running and gunning everybody but Georgia.
Man, I don't know that they've got the talent to do it, man, and I don't know that they can stay in games by doing that. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, moving on to Ole Miss. Ole Miss, man. Look, replacing a ton, right?
Oh yeah,
replacing just Matt Corral alone. That's already a big thing, right?
Right.
The defense now moving on from their defense coordinators is moved into a 4-2-5 as their base defense. You know, last year played the 3-man front more than anything else, right?
Who is their defensive coordinator?
He's wearing Aggie maroon now.
No, I mean, who's our new defensive coordinator? Ole Miss. Do you know who it is?
Oh,
no, I know who our defensive coordinator is.
No, I don't remember off the top of my head who their new.
Well, didn't he hire his brother for that for a little while?
Well, he hired his brother, and his brother quit on him. So
that's messed up.
He now promoted a guy from inside the program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if your brother leaves on you, you know you got something messed up going on. But you know. That 4-2-5 defense, I'll say this: they look pretty disruptive with their group up front in the first group. Man, they've got some things there. It's gonna be, they're gonna be okay there. They don't have really the pieces in behind that. You know, they're not great in the secondary, so that defense, I think, probably struggles a little bit like they have in the past. But where they make their money is on offense, right? Where Lane Kiffin makes his money is on offense. And at this point, that offense is going to have to run through Jackson Dart. Because I'm going to tell you this, the backup quarterback, he doesn't look like he's ready. Altmaier didn't look like he was ready. So if Jackson Dart doesn't come in and sort of show that he can take this group and run with it, man, I think they have a hard time this year. But the one good thing they have going for them is Lane Kiffin. And
that's funny.
Well, because I think offensively they're going to do everything they can just to confuse the defense, right? I think that you're going to see a lot of motions. You're going to see a lot of misdirection. I think they'll use the RPOs. They'll use some read and some different things like that to just create offense because they don't necessarily have the pieces to get them there, right?
Now, Jackson Dart, did you watch him play? Where was it? USC?
Yeah.
I don't remember him playing too much on what all he did. I don't remember how his stats were,
and he played the other day in the spring game, and he looked all right. You can tell that.
Is he more of a pocket passer? Is he mobile, or is he?
Yeah, he's not a statue by any means, but yeah, he's more of a pocket passer, and he delivers the ball well. And when he sees the read and does his things, he can get the ball to those players. And they do have some weapons, some big targets on the outside. Mingo at the right receiver. One of the tight ends, I think it's Trigg or something. I mean, the big guys can make some plays in the passing game. But that's
the big thing about Corral was his feet. Corral can move and make plays and improvise a lot, make something out of nothing. I don't know if Dart's going to be able to do that because I'm not sure where Ole Miss's offensive line is going to be.
Not at the same level. He's not going to be Corral in that sense, right?
Well, Corral got beat up towards the end of the season last year.
Yeah, Dart's going to have to get into the playmakers a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I do think he's going to be their starter, though. I think he's going to take the reins on that, and but they're going to take a step back, man. They're going to take a step back. They're not going to be as good as they were last year, not on offense and not on defense, if you ask me. All right, let's talk about LSU and the boys in purple. All right, so look, they got a wide open quarterback competition going on right now. And I think last time we spoke, about them. I was sort of leaning towards Brennan being the guy that ends up getting that gig. After watching the spring game, I'm not sure if it's Brennan. I'm sort of now starting to think it's Daniels. Because they're going to need his athleticism.
The offensive line's that bad?
The offensive line is still pretty darn bad. They struggled.
So if Max Johnson was there, would Max Johnson be the starting quarterback at LSU right now?
Probably not.
Really?
Well, he didn't win the job last year when Brennan took it from him.
So
Nussmeier, the young kid who's going to be, I guess, a redshirt freshman, maybe or a sophomore. Had his moments as well.
Yeah.
But he's also more of a pocket guy, and they do obviously. And look, they had some players that were out that didn't, just like the Aggies, that didn't participate in spring, whatever. Specifically, their number one target in Butte at the wide receiver spot, right? But as you start looking at them, they still have some of those weapons on the outside, right? Butte and some other guys that were on the field. I mean, so that's LSU. Those guys are gonna be there. But really and truly, I thought their offensive line really looked very poor. They do. They're using the tight end some. They're doing those things, but they're going to be spread out, man. They're going to try to get the ball out and do those things. I just think that Daniels gives them more of an opportunity to be more creative, let's say. And Kelly has been known to like a mobile quarterback, so that's kind of where I'm leaning that way. What do you think?
Well, yeah, Daniels is mobile. He was erratic as hell at Arizona State. Freshman year was great. Last year, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he had the same problems with the offensive line, if his head was not on right, if things were happening too fast. But I think he threw 18 touchdowns, like 4 interceptions his freshman year. It was something impressive. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but
big numbers.
Something like, huh?
Yeah, big numbers.
Yeah, and then last year was more 50-50. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Herm Edwards was a coach there last year, and Herm, he knows pro. He does a pro scheme. I'm surprised he went to Arizona State, but
yeah,
I'm really surprised that Daniels is at LSU, to be honest with you. And confusing. I'm sitting here thinking about all the teams in SEC West, the quarterbacks. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. The only team we haven't talked about is Alabama, and they got the best one, really.
Right. And and look, ultimately, how well that team does probably is going to be very dependent on how well that offensive line plays, because the quarterback's probably going to be a product of that, right?
Yeah, because every team has either a pro-worthy quarterback or a 5-star quarterback. Just look at him. Rodgers, I don't even know what he was, but he's going to be a pro. Jackson Dart was a 5-star going into USC, I think. What's it called? Shane Rattler at South Carolina. We're playing them. They're not in the West, but we're playing him. Every team they play, they're going to have a solid quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be a bunch of chumps out there.
No.
We might have the worst quarterback out of any team we play on the SEC side. I'm being honest. Like a name, name-wise. If you name them right now and say, hey, who would you take? Max Johnson, Haynes King, or Connor? And right now, somebody might say Connor, but he hasn't proven anything.
Yeah, and we like our quarterback room, but all that said is, you're right. Just the like proven. You're probably looking at a lot of other guys in the SEC other than our guy, right?
Right.
With regards to LSU, I'm going to tell you the one thing I was very, very impressed with. Defensively, they lined up in a 4-2-5. Their defensive ends looked explosive off the ball. They looked lean, athletic as hell. And I think those guys are going to be a problem for offenses in this league.
They've always got talent there. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but think about the last couple of years. They haven't been great up front as a defensive line, right? They, maybe 6 years ago, they had all that talent up front that was big time and all that. The last few years they haven't. And I'm telling you, those defensive ends look disruptive as hell.
I'll tell you what, you don't leave a job like Notre Dame and come to LSU without looking at what's there and what you can get.
Yeah.
He knows what he can get there. He knows that there's talent. I mean, he had it at Notre Dame. You got everything you can ask for at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's one of the top 5 jobs in college football. And you leave that to go to LSU. I just think it's.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's a defense that, I mean, is, oh my gosh, yeah, that's barely. I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the top defenses in the West, because I expect them to be so much better. I agree with you. The talent level on that defense is a lot better than they've shown over the last couple of years.
Their offense is going to put them in bad situations. The defense is going to be the defense will be good. The numbers will look bad because they're going to be put in bad situations. Teams like A&M are going to kill them on defense, and they'll have short fields. Same thing with Alabama. Same thing with Arkansas. Arkansas is just going to be
if their offensive line can't hold up, they're gonna end up putting that defense in bad places. But the defense is going to be good. I'm telling you.
Right. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just, I think Kelly will get it right in a couple of years. I don't think this will be the year.
All right, so we're going to finish this off with Alabama. I think people are going to be a little surprised from what I feel about Alabama.
All right.
But Corey, I'm going to let you go first.
It's Alabama, man. What do you want me to say about them? I think the defense will be stronger than they were last year. Talent coming back, quarterback young. They're missing a lot of wide receivers, but they always find something either in the transfer portal. They have freshmen, offensive lines always. They replenish. I mean, the numbers, the proof's in the pudding, like they always say. You sit there and you recruit 5 stars after 5 stars after 5 stars. You're not really losing a whole lot when you do lose something. I mean, it's not like losing a 5-star and going down to a 3-star that you're hoping it plays up to that talent level. You know what you're getting. I mean, they're pretty good. What you got?
All right. Before I get to the take, let me say this. Will Anderson is one of the best players in all of college football as an outside linebacker, defensive end type, and he's gonna wreak havoc all day, every day for this defense for Alabama. That guy is going to be a top 5 draft pick in next year's draft. That's including the fact that there's all these supposed top-tier quarterbacks. This dude is a monster. Monster. The defense is going to be all right.
Mostly because the best defensive player in the nation. They're going to be all right.
Because of him, they're going to probably be pretty good, actually. Now, and they've got 4 and 5-star players at every position on that defense. Don't get me wrong. They've got to fill in a couple of pieces in the secondary and do those things, but there's talent. Adding Eli Ricks out of LSU, he's probably going to be their best defensive back. I mean, I think that helps them a ton, and getting him in there is going to be huge. And I imagine he's going to make a ton of big plays because Anderson's going to be killing quarterbacks that are throwing the ball up like crazy and allowing those defensive backs to just go make plays. The defense is going to be pretty good. But I'm telling you right now, mark this on the tape, okay? This offense is going to struggle. The Alabama offense with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback coming back is going to struggle. And you know why?
Anybody throw the ball to.
The wide receiver group is no longer what it has been the last few years at Alabama. They're used to having 2 first-round wide receivers on the field every year for the last 6 years.
Right.
They don't have that. They just don't have it right now. And it's understandable that you lose that sort of talent at wide receiver over the last 4 drafts, that all of a sudden there's a deficiency in talent there. I understand that. But on top of that, to add to that problem, that offensive line's got issues. They didn't look good last year, especially against Georgia and some teams with some good fronts, A&M for one. That offensive line is going to have problems also. And now when you combine those two things together, where that offensive line is not going to be dominant and your weapons on the outside aren't going to bail you out, that offense is going and Bill O'Brien is a garbage coach to add to it all. So I think that offense is going to struggle. And by struggle, I don't mean they're going to struggle.
Like, what do you mean? They're not going to make the national championship game this year?
I mean they're not going to make the playoffs this year.
Woo!
And that offense is going to be above middle of the pack in the SEC, but not much above middle of the pack in the SEC.
I mean, you can get a call from Paul Feinbaum here pretty soon. You keep talking like
Tell
that.
Tell Paul to give me a call. Tell Paul to give me a call.
Paul.
I'll put money on it.
Man. So what are you saying? Alabama's going to lose, 3 games this year in the regular season or 2?
I don't know if I'm willing to bet 3, but if their win total is –
well, who are they losing to? They losing to Longhorns?
If their win total is 10.5, I'm taking the under.
Don't tell me they're going to lose the Longhorns.
No. Even though they're you know where their best wide receiver is? He just signed up in Austin. The guy that quit because he's crazy. Yeah.
He went to a good place.
He went to Austin.
That's a good place for him. Mental institution.
The tight end, their starting tight end from last year. Oh, he's in Austin too.
That's good. That's what they needed.
And no, they're not gonna lose to the Longhorns.
God.
Let me be clear about that.
We ever hear the end of that shit?
But those guys are gonna lose 2 games next year in the regular season.
But to who?
They're gonna lose 2 games in the regular season.
Say it. Who are you thinking?
Listen, there's a host of teams that are going to have a chance to beat them.
Who,
there's
Arkansas?
There's the Aggies. There's Arkansas.
The Aggies got them last year. We got them on the road. this year. I don't think
and you're probably right. The Aggies are probably last on that list.
Yeah.
But they play Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's teams on their schedule that can beat them. And I'm telling you, this offense is not going to be as good as it has been in the last few years.
All right.
Does that mean they're going to be horrible? No, but they're just not going to be as good.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. I can't wait to see.
Right.
You eat your
we'll
freaking
money
words
on
again.
It.
Yeah.
We'll money on
don't worry about that. If you would have said 3 losses, I would have put some money on that real quick. If you would have said,
hey,
they lose 3
under in their win total, I don't care what the number comes out in Vegas at. I'm taking the under.
All
right. Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Rawson Distributing, Assistant Aggies with all their drilling needs. Aggie owned and operated, folks. Support that Aggie network. Kevin Rawson, man, one of the best people you'll ever meet. Such a nice dude. If you're in that world, give him a call. All right, first question. Look, the NFL draft starts tomorrow, baby. Starts tomorrow, first round tomorrow. Who's the first overall pick, Corey?
If it's me, and I'm Jacksonville, I'm taking Hutchinson, the kid from Michigan. He's solid defensive end. They just re-signed their left tackle. They don't need a left tackle right now, so I take Hutchinson. I don't think there's any quarterbacks that can – I mean, you just got Lawrence last year. You don't need a quarterback. You need probably some skill around him, but they just signed some players that they think have the skill, including one of our own Aggies, to play wide receiver. But this is a team. They screw it up. They'll I mean, if I were them, I'd probably trade it away, to be honest with you, and get more picks because they're so talent deficient on that.
I'm sure if they could, they would. But it doesn't sound like a lot of people are offering a whole lot. I agree with you. If I'm them, I'm taking Hutchinson. There's a lot of noise, and you're hearing it on ESPN and everything else, that apparently they're considering the defensive end from Georgia, Walker. And Corey, this is one thing I won't ever understand. I won't ever understand this. How are you going to take the player number 1 overall that wasn't productive in college? He couldn't produce in college. This guy had 6 sacks last year. In a 3-year career at Georgia, he had a total of 9.5 sacks. His career numbers at Georgia is basically what DeMarvin Leal did last year for the Aggies almost. And Leal supposedly is like a 4th-round pick. So
I feel like people are messing with Jacksonville in this. Like, hey, man, this guy is that good. You can't pass him up just for that Hutchinson can stay in Michigan, up there in Detroit, because just something doesn't sound right about this at all. And that guy Thibodeau, you haven't heard anything about him in a while. That defensive end out of Oregon.
And I'll tell you this, Hutchinson probably not the same upside as some of these guys, but you know what you're going to get with that guy. And he's going to be super solid, make a Pro Bowl here and there. I mean, and he's going to be a productive member of that defense, not to mention a leader. If you ask me, that's the guy you want. For a team like Jacksonville, you don't need upside. You need solid football players, man. Take a sure thing. I'd take Hutchinson. All he did was have 14 sacks and 16.5 tackles for loss last year. Pretty impressive. Pretty damn impressive. That would be my pick.
Gotcha.
All right. Which team screws things up this year in the first round? Let's say early in the draft tomorrow.
Could be Jacksonville. It could be Jacksonville. What you just said. It could be them. Because
I was thinking. Go ahead.
What's that? What were you saying?
I said I was thinking about this, and I'm like, well, it's always the same teams that screw things up. So like the Raiders, the Seahawks, the Giants. But the Raiders and the Giants have new leadership, so maybe they learn how to get it right. I don't know.
I think whoever takes Malik Willis early will be screwing up because I think that's a mistake. I think it's what's the guy's name that came out of LSU that went first or second overall to the Raiders?
Russell.
Yeah, I think he might be another Russell. I don't have enough against quality competition.
I don't know that he's Russell. I just think he's because the problem with DeMarcus Russell is DeMarcus didn't like to work. And, the NFL game is a working man's game, right?
Right.
That everything they say about Malik is that he's all in and he's bought in and all those type of stuff. Now, he's got a lot of development to do, man. And so I don't know if I don't know if he should be a first rounder, but if somebody coaches him up in the NFL and gives him, puts players around him with a chance to succeed, he's got the tools physically. He's got the tools, right? And apparently he's got the work ethic is what they say about him. So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years he's ready to roll. Does that make him a first round? That's what I don't get. Does that make him?
It's all about the system. If he gets in the right system, I think he'll be fine. If he gets in the right team, if he gets on somewhere like Pittsburgh where they don't need him to play right away and he can sit and learn. And
he almost reminds you a lot of the guy that's retiring from Pittsburgh and Beth Roethlisberger. Obviously, Roethlisberger's taller, but he's he's a physical guy. He's a big physical guy,
big arm.
And with a big arm, right, that can make some plays, avoiding the rush and things like that. And so, and you're right. You put him in that team, well, they'll do everything to protect him with the running game and an offensive line and a defense, and then, let him develop. He might have a Hall of Fame career just like Roethlisberger did. All right, so if you had to guess, which team has the best draft right now?
This year, who's going to have the best draft?
Yeah. And we won't know the answer to this question for 4 years, and nobody will know what the heck we said. So you're in the clear, baby.
I'll throw it out there. I'll say the Steelers. I think they'll have a good draft this year. Because I think they have a lot of needs. Yeah. I think they need to go through and get a lot of.
Well, and here's what I was thinking. It's like, who are the teams that have the multiple first rounders, right? But there's a ton of them. Like the Saints. Yeah. The Saints, the Jets, the Giants, right? Philadelphia. And I'm missing a couple in there as well. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have multiple. So I think I'm going to go with a team that maybe some people don't have a lot of faith in, but I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles, who've got a lot of picks this year, and they're building a roster to put around Jalen Hurts in order to make a run in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs.
Is that your quarterback of the future, Jalen Hurts? You're building a team around him?
I think they're going to stick with him, yeah.
Okay.
And at least for this coming year, right? And And I agree.
That's the whole thing. If you're building a roster around him, then why would you only stick with him for a year if you're building a roster around him?
Well, I'm not saying that that's only, but what I'm saying is that they're all in on him being that guy, the leader of that team that's coming.
So they're not drafting a quarterback, is what you're saying?
No.
Gotcha.
They're going to put the pieces around him to allow him to try to be successful. And here's the thing, about Jalen Hurts.
I bet they draft a quarterback anyway.
Maybe in the late rounds.
People talk all the time. Nah, that'll be like the third round.
Late rounds.
Yeah, second and third.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Good. All right, question number 2. Which Aggie ends up in the best situation?
God. It's probably going to be somebody like whoever's drafted low.
Probably, they're all going to get drafted low, so don't worry about it.
Not Kenyon. Kenyon will be pretty high. I mean, I think the guys that I think will play right away will be somebody like Leal. I think I'll get a lot of playing time early. I think Spiller will get a lot of playing time early. I think Green will get a lot of playing time early. I think somebody like Johnson or Peavy, one of those guys that they're not talking a whole lot about, I think they're going to make a difference. I think they're going to make a squad. I think Johnson might be in a good situation, being a specialist, getting after the quarterback. And he might go to a team like the Lions that need pass rushers. And they might take a flyer on and be like, hey, man, I don't even know if he'll get drafted, to be honest with you.
He may not. But I'm going to tell you this.
Somebody like him
if I'm a team sitting there in the 7th round, maybe even the 6th.
Yeah.
And I know that I can take this guy and line him up as a situational pass rusher, and he's going to be explosive off the edge. I would take a shot on him. And I do, you're later in the draft, it can be a team that's already a good winning team. Man, I love that. I love that conversation that you started there.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the guy that ends up in the best situation is Spiller, because I want him to be able to just wreck shop.
I think he'll be successful wherever he goes, man. As long as he can stay healthy, which has been an issue. I'm saying he always gets these little dinged up here and there, but he's talented enough. He's a hard enough runner. I mean, hell, we didn't know we were getting when he came to A&M. When he first started carrying the ball, we're like, who the hell is this guy? And all of a sudden, he's just running all over people. And I think he's going to do that. Yeah, I think he's going to be great. I think if he gets into I'm trying to think which team would be. I mean, I'm a big Chargers fan right now. I like what they do with their running backs. I don't care who they give the ball to because they have a good offensive line. But and I think that other guy that's carrying the ball for them, I can't think of his name right now. He's a badass. Yeah. I mean, he's getting older. You know what I'm saying? And they got that guy behind him that ran pretty well when Ecker was out. But I think a situation like that wouldn't be bad. I hope he doesn't go to somewhere like freaking he goes to a bad team like Detroit or something. It's just going to cost him a career, I think. I'm afraid somebody's going to give him the ball way too much. He's going to get.
I can think of worse places than Detroit, but yeah, I see what I agree with you. So I'm hopeful for him. I'm hopeful that he does somebody late in the 2nd round that's already a good team that knows how to use a running back that gives him a shot. So that's sort of where I'm leaning. All right, Corey.
All right, buddy.
Aggies, baby. AP Corey signing out from the tailgate.